All right, everybody, we are live again. Dynasty Myth, search for Huru, and I have the sister Riziki. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes, Riziki Zafira, you're
What, what,
correct.
what does Riziki mean? Let me.
It's Swahili for nourishment, sustenance. Yeah, in
Okay.
that. hmm
And today's topic is a Black woman's introduction to sacred sexuality and Tantra. What is sacred sexuality?
Well, really, it's about man, it's really the re-education of sexuality and sex education. Instead of it being such this physical, linear perspective, it definitely has a lot to do with our spiritual self, our mental and emotional self as well, and also learning how to use sex because everyone's doing it anyway. As a healing modality and a modality to where it allows men and women to become closer. It allows, members in the community to like heal from certain things that are hindering us from working together, like trust, trauma, triggers, all that kind of stuff. So, in a nutshell, that is what sacred sexuality is, understanding the underlying parts, the goal of sexual interaction or just energy exchange, period.
What made you get or get involved in something like sacred sexuality? Like what?
Oh, the healing that I needed. I mean, I was not to get in my family history, but the more I found out what the women in my family been through, I could see the pathology and how that was affecting me. Not just like the love of myself, but how I interact with men, how I interact with my sisters, also the sexual trauma that I've been through that I never got help for up until I started going through this kind of training and experience. So that's what really got me into it. It was really to help heal myself. And so when I found how it was able to heal me and empower me, I had to share it with others. So that's how I
Okay.
got started.
Now, a lot of people they might confuse like sacred sexuality with someone like Amber Rose in the Slut Walk. What do you?
Yeah, no.
Oh, go ahead.
See, well, first, I don't knock anybody for what they do, but that is so not what it is because the first level of my class has nothing to do with the physical act of sex.
Mhm.
It has a lot to do with clearing your blockages,
Mm.
clearing the trauma or the triggers, or understanding why you're operating the way you're operating in relationships, with yourself, with the opposite sex in the world. So sacred sexuality has it. Well, I will say this, it does have a part to do with not allowing society to shame women as far as our sexuality, because a lot of religion encourages women to suppress it. It really does. So I can understand the empowerment. Like, listen, I could still be attractive and be in my feminine energy without having to be labeled a slut or whatever. But some women take it a little bit further. I get their point, but that's not my style. So that's all I could say about that.
Okay. Now, how did you brought up blockages? Like, how did these blockages come about? And
Well,
like, what is
yes,
blocking?
a blockage is okay. For instance, I'm a woman who is always talking about I need a good man in my life. And then when one appears in my life, I don't recognize him, or I repel him, or I sabotage. That's a blockage, right? A blockage is anything that is prohibiting you from accomplishing or experiencing something that you should accomplish. Point blank, period. A blockage could show up in our physical body. Why some women can go to the doctor and not be diagnosed with any kind of fibroids or fertility issues, but yet you can't conceive children. Why a man, you think you haven't been through trauma, but you're wondering why you can't have a heart connection. You wonder why you have a lack of trust for women, or you have erectile dysfunction. So that's a blockage.
Okay, someone in the chat.
Excuse me.
I'm gonna read this comment. Lowland Prophet says, "I urge everyone to Google true sacred sexuality. I feel she is misrepresenting it sadly." Are those people who don't value or try to discredit what you do, or
Well, I don't even know if this person has been to any of my events or my classes or watched my videos. And one thing about sacred sexuality, this work that I love, I learned to not take people's stuff personal.
Uh-huh.
Like the old me, I'd be like, oh, what is he talking about? What is he or she
Sure.
talking about?
Well, let me ask. No, hold on one second. Lowland Prophets, have you been to her class yet?
Yeah. And what am I misrepresenting?
Yeah, Lowland, have you been to the class yet? Okay, let's wait for him or her to respond.
Sure.
Now,
Mhm.
this I keep hearing about these Yoni eggs. Like, do you incorporate Yoni eggs?
I personally do not.
And what are your thoughts on Yoni eggs? Like, how do you feel about that?
Okay, so of course in this work, I have to be able to speak from experience. And
Mm-hmm.
I've used the yoni egg. It wasn't for me. You know, I'm not for allowing foreign objects in my body. You know what I mean? I don't knock the women who do it, but I personally do not use it. Now the one way I could see it is helpful is for women who have incontinence issues or a weak pelvic floor to exercise their pelvic muscles. But to say, you know, I have this yoni egg and it's giving me all this power and energy, I personally can't attest to that because I did not experience that.
Okay. Now you deal with Tantra too. What role does Tantra play in sacred sexuality?
Okay, so I want to talk about the misconception. So first
Go ahead.
off,
Go ahead.
tantra, yeah, tantra is a Sanskrit word that simply means weaving light and sound, and there's many words in indigenous cultures that describe this. So I'm not saying tantra is the only word, but tantra in the Western world and in a lot of aspects, they contributed to sex only,
Mhm.
and it's again way more than sex. Yes, it does help you be more into your body. Again, there's one of my students in the class, her first orgasm was at 50. She's been through a lot of trauma. What cut you off from that? Her ability to connect on a heart level, or not be triggered by her past experiences in a current relationship. To me, that is what sacred sexuality is about. It's about getting over the blockages that are preventing you from having healthy relationships with the opposite sex and even with yourself. So,
Mm. See what we
oh,
got here.
did he ever answer the question? Has he been in my classes or my? Probably not yet.
Lowland, no, he responded. It's ancient knowledge. Maybe she should name her class different because sacred sexuality is something very real. So no, he or she hasn't been to your class.
Okay, but I did just say that, right? I was looking for another word. We talked about
Yeah,
that
I
earlier.
mean,
But it's okay. I'm not. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
it's all good. It's
Mhm.
fine.
Okay. Yeah.
So how's the reception been? Like,
It's been good. And you know why it's been good? Because this topic in the Black community has been so swept under the rug and suppressed. Like a lot of people that I get in my classes, they've, been molested, or they don't understand certain behaviors that they have. I incorporate mental health in my courses too, which is very important because mental health is another taboo subject that we don't like to talk about in the Black community. So, I get a lot of people who have been molested, who have been raped, who have mommy issues and who have daddy issues, who just have, certain issues with, like, just understanding who they are, why they're here, why they keep repeating negative patterns in their relationships, why they are attracting these same type of people and it's not working out right. So these are the type of people that I get. There are some people who go and say, how can I have a better orgasm? And I'm all about connection. And that is another part of it. But in my work, it has a lot to do with generational trauma and healing, as well as activating certain parts within yourself that's been suppressed due to trauma you've been through. So that's my work. And the people love it. Like I said, the first matter of fact, the Art of Sacred Sexuality retreat, hosted by Brian and Karen, that is a Black couple, and Black people do come.
where's it at? Where's it at? So people could
Okay, so the 3 or 4 have been in Atlanta. The last 2 have been in Destin, Florida, and then the next one we're doing in December will be in Jamaica.
Okay.
So I have another sacred sexuality kind of retreat in LA. I started along with some members in New York, Black Tantra group, and again the reception as well is good because there has been so many people who are looking for a place to come ask questions and not be judged. They want to talk about their experience and not be judged. And this is the space to do it in, and while being able to find solution.
Shout out to Ghana Dan. Shout out to Ghana Dan. He says, "Real talk. This is a great show and info."
Thank you.
Shout
Big
out to
shout
Ghana
out.
Dan.
Thank you.
Now, now, how often do you put on yourself courses, or do you do like one-on-ones? Like, how do you usually do it?
So I do one-on-ones, but I also do courses. So my courses are like, I'll come out maybe every 3 or 4 months. Right now, I have a class called the Sacred Sexuality Rites of Passage program, and that just started February 2nd. So I'll start enrollment again around May or June. But so I'll have these classes maybe 2 or 3 times a year because I'm not a rush through kind of person. I meet live with my students just like you and I are speaking.
Right.
I also travel to them, they travel to me. And as a matter of fact, the event Intro to Tantra in Charlotte, I'm combining, with my students there to bring it to the people there as well. So, I definitely I make myself available one-on-one, rather coming to a city and doing an event or offering my classes, because it is something that us in the African diaspora, Black people, we need, because it's a topic that's been swept under the rug. We're taught if we talk about it, we're shamed. If we express certain things, we're dogs or we're hoes. And it's like, how can we expect people to improve if there's always judgment when we're just trying to get help?
Now, what are your thoughts on people who, I mean, what's the benefits of having conversations like this versus, it being taboo, like you said,
Wow.
that it is in the Black community? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I'll definitely tell you. So, for instance, women who have been molested and never told their families, men who've been molested, and society taught them, if you talk about it, you're a punk, you're weak, whatever. So we don't understand how our secrets can kill us, in a sense. Holding on to trauma and pain that you cannot express leads to mental health issues. So this is one of the reasons why I had to partner with licensed and professional mental health counselors, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the community that deals with sexual abuse and trauma. And even if it isn't the act of intercourse, it's a lot of abandonment and rejection, and more so the views of the opposite sex we gain from our parents, right? So if you have a whole community of people who are walking around in pain and they're taught to not talk about it, they're taught it's better to suppress it, what's going to end up manifesting is angry people, depressed people, people with mental health issues. So the benefit, just like for me being able to talk about the stuff I could not talk about, it's helped healed me in a lot of ways. The triggers that I had in relationships before are not there right now.
And not to get into personal business.
No, that's fine. I'm transparent. Yeah.
Okay, you said triggers. So sometimes, this is men also have issues too.
That's right.
Something could trigger something, and men are like, "What's going on? What's happening?" Like,
Right.
can you give an example of some triggers that might throw a man off, off guard, or that
Like
he might
that
not
when a
understand?
woman is triggered or when a man is triggered?
We can do both. Let's start off with when a woman is triggered.
Okay, so when a woman is triggered, so for instance, let's just say if a man uses a certain tone with us, right?
Okay.
So we can be triggered into thinking, oh, he's trying to control me, or he's trying to tell me what to do, when really you could just be passionate. You could just be serious about what you're talking about. But because we had a negative experience from a past relationship, that same kind of tone reminded us of this abusive situation or man, we then carry that experience into this argument. when it doesn't have to be. So instead of me recognizing this is a man who's just in his masculinity, and yeah, he got his little tone because he's just expressing himself in a passionate manner, we could take it as, oh, he's trying to control me, he's trying to tell me what to do or send us in a bad space. It's the same thing with a man. So sometimes, or for instance, one of the main triggers that I've experienced with men is abandonment. Okay, so let's just say if a man has not had a healthy relationship with his mother, or he's been constantly cheated on by previous women, if he experiences a woman who, he loves her so much, and then all of a sudden there's something she says or does that reminds him of that moment, now there's an argument because really he feels like you're about to abandon him, or you're triggering him from that last experience that ain't got nothing to do with you. And a lot of us are walking around like this with triggers we have not healed from. So just like you said, you could be having a whatever time with your woman, and something is said and she just spouts out for no reason, and you like, wait, what happened? It's a trigger. It has nothing to do with you. It's a trigger. So if we haven't healed from that, we have unnecessary arguments.
Let's deal with this. You mentioned something in regards to having daddy issues and mommy issues. Should women get into relationships who have not confronted or dealt with issues like family issues or issues in past relationships? Like, one thing is like daddy issues. Someone told me that a man should never date a woman who has daddy issues. I mean, what are your thoughts on statements like that?
I mean, I get it, but I get it, but that's just like saying we expect to find somebody with no kind of issues at all, which, good luck with that. So I can understand the severity of daddy issues. So I'm not going to say never. I do think that there should be a certain amount of healing work done first. I do believe, so like, and again, I can only speak for me. Part of how my daddy issues manifested was me dating older men. Like, that's just, part of how my daddy issues.
Not to be nosy, like what are signs of daddy?
Whatever. I'm so transparent.
Okay. So
we can get it in.
So from what somebody told me, if a woman did not have her daddy in her life, that's a no-no. What when you say your daddy issues, like what specifically? Was he not in your life? Like, what were the issues?
Okay, so when my parents divorced, my dad was more so a child support check, right? So even though I knew who he was, there was no emotional connection. There was no kind of, so it was hard for me to believe that a man would really be emotionally connected to me if the first man in my life was not. Right. So therefore I did go around in relationships not really embracing the fact that a man could truly love me. So I was walking around with a wall, with a guard. It was easy for me to break up with you. Oh, okay. I would probably sabotage the relationship just so I can avoid being abandoned. Like, this is real.
Go ahead, finish. Go ahead and finish. Let me just write. I'm gonna write this question down. But go ahead, keep
yeah,
going.
Sure. No. You can ask. I mean, I was kind of.
No. Well, finish your statement because I don't want to interrupt.
Okay. Yeah. So I would, find a reason to leave the relationship before he had, before he could find a reason to leave me or whatever. And I had control issues. I had control issues because again, I just wanted to control the situation so that I wouldn't feel the hurt or the void that I felt when, because I didn't have a relationship with my dad. And the same works, when men have mom issues. So, what was your question?
You said you tried to sabotage a relationship. Like, what did you do to sabotage? And got it, Dan. I'm gonna get to your statement here in a second. Like, how did you sabotage? Okay. Like, how would you sabotage a relationship?
Yeah, I would just disconnect. I would just or I would find reasons to argue. Like, I would try to find things to make you break up with me in a sense, because I just felt like, what it was? Okay. How couples, you go through things and you're able to get on the other side. Like, you're going to go through these rough patches and get on the other side. I allowed no time for that. Like, I just felt, oh, if we get into an argument, that's it, it's over. I wasn't going to be dedicated and in it enough to try to work through it, because that's not what I saw. That's not it was foreign to me. It was foreign to stay together for a long time if you have arguments. So I would just sabotage. I would, try to disconnect, or just make you not want me, whatever, would not give you sex, sabotage, like, not make you interested. This is real talk. And again, I'm glad you're doing this. You know why? Because there's not a lot of space, and I'm not even looking at your comments, but for me to be able to sit and have a transparent conversation with you like this, as well as men, is important without negative feedback, because that discourages us even more from speaking our truth so we can get healing.
The kind of dance says, if you're striving to build a legacy, you better choose wisely and seek appropriate counseling before getting intimate. What are your thoughts on that statement?
I think definitely seeking counseling before marriage, and when you say intimacy is many
Probably
levels.
sex.
Is it just sex, or is it just
the sex part? I'm guessing.
Intimate.
Not a Dan. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we'll deal with the sex part.
Intimacy is more than just sex, and that's another misconception. We think intimacy is only sex.
But we'll just look at it from a physical level. Intimate. What are your thoughts about his statement?
To get counseling before you have sex with someone, like, if
let me wait for
because that's not clear.
He said sex. She said sex. Yeah, he said sex.
Okay, so to get counseling before you have sex with every partner, I will say this. I don't know if he means going to some person, but what I can say, between sexual partners, there should be a clearing and cleansing process. Absolutely. I do believe that when you sexually engage with somebody, you take a part of their energy just like you give them yours. So I do think that there should be a cleansing process. Yes, I do think that there should be better criteria that we have before we engage sexually with each other, which is why we got to be, in my opinion, I know I needed to be re-educated as to why I'm having sex with who I choose to have sex with. So I can't say every partner before I have sex with everybody, I'm going to go seek out a counselor, but I do my self checks. I do a cleansing process. I do have certain kind of things that I check for before I feel like it's okay for my energy to be exchanged with this person.
Is the number of partners that that one previously had coming into a relationship, is that important, or should that just be ignored?
Again, as long as they had a clearing process there, I don't trip on that. When I date men, that's not okay. Let me think with this. Okay. The number, if a person is still in that activity of having a lot of partners, I check for that reason. Is it because you're seeking some kind of false validation? Like, a lot of times people engage with a lot of partners because of a lack of validation that they're getting. But again, if a person was wilding out back in the day and now they're, more mature, I don't take that into consideration as much if they have done the work. It is, I could see it being a part of someone's consideration, but I don't hold on to that, because we all have a past. If we all judge each other by who we had sex with in the past, there wouldn't be a lot of relationships going on. Again, I just feel like the clearing process is necessary.
Let's see. Ghana Dan says, Master Yao is a magnificent teacher in Tantra too. Please support these healers. Are you familiar with Master Yao?
I actually graduated all 3 tiers, and I was certified to teach and practitioner under Grand Trine. So he was my actual teacher. So it's just, that was my teacher. So if you look on my website, you'll see me give credit to Yao Morris. I have a lot of his books in my in my course. I teach, I refer people to his books, and so.
Okay. Jared Jean Lewis wants to know, should the man be the authority of the woman by following his lead, since the Black woman don't know? Jared, come on. Okay, I didn't read. I'm gonna finish the rest of the question.
I'm not in SD, but finish that question.
I would just read it, and I'm like, oh, damn. Okay.
It's okay, brother. Finish that question, because I don't judge. Let him get. Go ahead now.
Should the man be the authority of the woman by following his lead since the black woman don't know how to act?
Okay,
What do you
so
talk about that?
so maybe the black woman he's been involved with don't know how to act. And see,
Uh-huh.
this is another thing. We don't realize that the people who we attract and choose to engage with is a reflection of ourselves.
Mm.
Secondly, I'm not following no man who's not equipped to lead. See, people forget that. If a man is equipped to lead, absolutely, I don't have no problem following you, but also understand that man sometimes get too much in their ego, and man doesn't realize at times there are situations where the queen, where the woman, we are better equipped to lead. And this is, I feel like, where some of our colonization be rubbing off, because we stood side by side, right? We shared power. It wasn't you lead me all the time, I lead you all the time. It was harmony. So some brothers, and I'm not saying him because I don't want to judge, but some brothers with that mentality have control issues themselves.
Mhm.
Okay, so when you're trying to have authority over a person, you don't. I'm not no one's property. You're not no one's property. So I don't even know where that belief system comes from sometimes. Well, I do know, but okay, go ahead.
Where does it come from?
Well, I mean, again, it comes, I really feel like it has a lot to do with colonization and what we've been taught by other people. No man rules or controls or possesses a woman, and no woman rules or controls or possesses a man. That's not a relationship. I don't, that's like a master servant arrangement. That's not a relationship. So let's change those languages.
So what do you think patriarchy in the black community? Is that something that's needed, or what are your thoughts on that?
I do think both masculine and energy is needed. What I feel like when there's an extreme on either end, it's chaos. Too much patriarchy is too, okay, the masculine energy in a sense is very logical, strategical, linear, right? So as we can see right now, our society is under patriarchy, and we see the results of that, right?
Mhm.
There was a time where our society was matriarchal. We've seen the results of that. So it's not even for me to answer. It's for us to really be in our truth and first set ego aside and really be real. It's a balance, it's a harmonious relationship with both. Like an extreme patriarchy and extreme matriarchy, neither will work. It's an extreme, it's a balance and harmony of both. So I think as black men and women, we try to compete with each other, and it irritates me.
It
You know
does.
what I mean? It's really irritating. It's not about the man being better, it's not about the woman being better. When we work together, it's harmonious. And when our egos are in check, it's not about who's ruling. It's about, are we getting shit done? Oh, sorry. Can I say that? It's
Go for
about
it.
getting stuff
Yeah. You
done.
cuss.
It's about getting stuff done. And again, and here's another thing. Let's talk about a trigger,
Go ahead.
right? Okay, so a lot of our brothers, and correct me because you're a man if I'm wrong. A
Go ahead.
lot of our brothers are not able to exercise their masculinity or their power as a black man, because in this society there's a lot of emasculation, there's a lot of negativity and all that other
Well,
shit.
to a degree, I agree with you. Like, one of them is, if I tell my son
Mhm.
that I want you to be masculine and date women, and I want you to be a man. To some people now, that's offensive.
Mhm.
So to a degree, you are correct.
Okay, so when you raise a culture of men where masculinity is offensive to other people, you have to somehow exercise that masculinity or you lose it. So when you're operating in a society that does not allow you to express your masculinity, you take it out on other people. And this is where that unhealthy need to control and possess and all this authority comes from. Not to say you're not supposed to be an authority, not to say that at times you're not supposed to lead, but there's an unhealthy way that people are doing it, or that men are doing it, because you're not allowed to express it in a healthy way, which is again why these circles are needed, why I do Black Tantra group, why I do sacred sexuality rites of passage. Because men, you do need to come and exercise your masculinity. You do need to come to a place and see what it takes and how it feels to be protective of the women and the children in this room. And the women need to feel the same thing. It's about coming together to be able to practice what we're not able to practice.
Do you think there's a conspiracy to effeminate Black men?
I can definitely see that. There's whenever there's a force that's causing issues for another force to prosper, there's always going to be an agenda to suppress it. So I could see that. I could see agendas amongst a lot of people, but I do see how masculinity has been stripped away from our men, and also how women have been trained or advertised to not embrace, masculinity from our
Right.
men. So yeah.
How do you feel about like the Me Too movement? Like, do you think they have a secret agenda? Like, is it just, they're trying to make it seem as if it's just, going after women who have been sexually assaulted or abused. But I just think there's a hidden agenda, and part of that
Yeah.
is feminization of, feminizing Black men. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm gonna be honest, I don't follow the Me Too movement. A lot of stuff I be creating my own reality, bruh. But what I can say is men are violated just as much as women. So I can't take sides. I work mostly with men. I do work with women, but a lot of my tantric work is with men. I work with so many men who've been molested. And a couple who've been taken advantage of in prison. I've work with men who were molested at a young age, and then as a teenager they molested somebody else, and then as an adult they're still carrying guilt from that. And these are some of our brothers, our cousins, our homeboys that cannot express these things because we haven't been trained on how to navigate that. Like, if your homeboy came to you today and was like, bruh, yo, I still be thinking about that time I was anally raped when I was 11. What you going to do? What you going to say? Where do you send him?
No, you have a point.
That
Where do you see him?
That's what I'm saying. And this is what hurts my heart. And like every time I get into this, I try not to cry, because it's like when you see like a 6'2" man, over 200 pounds, he's so masculine and he takes care of his families and his kids, but he has this secret, like this vision keeps popping in, and it keeps fucking with his masculinity. You know what I'm saying? Remembering that. And for him to know he's in a family who don't want to talk about it, or a wife that may, look at him less than if he expresses it, what does he do? This is why there's mental health issues. I'm sorry.
No, no problem.
Yeah, so I have a real soft spot for that, because I see it a lot. And it hurts that as much as we talk about, protecting the Black family, raising a Black family, having healthy relationships, we're not doing enough for the healing process. We're too judgmental. We're quick to call people names. We're quick to say this, that, and the third. But, where are the solutions? There's people who don't have the stomach to talk about this stuff. You have people who have these fetishes or these sexual ideas, and they don't understand like they need help. And these is doctors, lawyers, your dentists. You think the people thinking that these is just some bum people on the street? No, it's people we see every day. When I come to these retreats, this is who it is: doctors, lawyers, physicians. They're people in our community, but again, because of their status or because of the face they have to keep portraying to the world, they can't be honest about it. And for me, and excuse my expression,
Right.
I said fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I tell my story. And just like that brother who was like, bro, I'm not sweating you, because I know my story, and I know the work that I'm doing and the benefit that it gets from people. You know what I'm saying? There will always, just like there's always going to be people to try to emasculate you, that's going to try to suppress your masculinity. There's always going to be people who do not understand me or what I do, but that don't stop me. That's a small thing to a giant.
Now, Sharon made a comment in the chat room, and I'm seeing a lot of this too. More and more women claiming to be conscious doing adult entertainment sex work. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Being as far as being conscious, but doing that,
Okay.
or a couple of years ago, you had Umar Johnson and a conscious stripper.
Conscious stripper.
Right. What are your thoughts on that?
And let me tell you why I laughed at everyone who shamed him. That's a man who, well, aside from not having a school, I don't know, but there's a lot of leaders, right, who like they have sexual needs too, right? So,
I think the shaming came from the way he responded to it. That
okay, not the fact.
That's the issue. Like if he was just like, look, y'all, I slipped. I mean, the conscious stripper was fine as hell. So if he was just like, look, I slipped up, I don't think people were tripping. But the way he was calling her a maggot and all types of names.
Oh yeah, okay.
Doing all this stuff. So my thing was, I think the way he responded to it once he got caught was the issue.
Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so there are or have been some clients of mine who are ex strippers or whatever, and I'm gonna tell you my story. I did strip for a day. This was like years ago. I tried it. I did. I was like, I want to try it, see what it's like, and I got a chance to talk to these women, and you know what's so funny?
Go ahead.
Some of those women were in there working on their college degrees. It was a quick way to hustle and get money.
So is that really the true story that they're going to college?
You said what?
They're really in there like working.
Oh yeah, I went to school with one. Like when I started waitressing at one, I was like, oh my God, you go to Norfolk State? Oh my God, like yeah, for real. I was waitressing at a strip club. So yeah. So to make a long story short, conscious strippers. Mm-hmm. This is another thing that we don't like to admit. Okay. Women, we've been having sex since the beginning of time. Right. Okay. Women, unfortunately, there have been societies who paid women for sex. You would buy a woman to be your wife for a freaking ox or a cattle or whatever the case. Am I right or wrong? Like the exchange of women for goods have existed since the beginning of time. I'm not saying that I'm advocating it. I'm just saying that it's something that has happened since the beginning of time. So when we talk about a conscious stripper, it's hard for me to touch, because if there's a woman who's doing this in order to save her money, get in and get out, I can't judge you for that. I don't know her story. Maybe that's all she knew. I don't know her story. You know what I'm saying? I just don't. So for those who just want to make it a career, that I don't agree with. But again, I don't know her story. Like we got to think a lot of the things that we do is because of how we've been trained or taught, or some of the effed up stuff we've been through. So some of them women in there think that that's as much as they're worth, honestly. But for those who are in there to come in, do what they got to do and be out, listen, I can understand why society doesn't like it. They don't embrace it, but we're also a part of society that embraces it behind closed doors. So on the surface level, you'll say no strippers, I don't like it, but behind closed doors, you like watching naked women.
Right. Oh yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's why I don't deal with this phony stuff, yo. I don't.
I would be lying if I said I do not enjoy a fat ass. I love to look at a fat ass. Like I would be lying, because you get these conscious dude, oh queen, why are you dressed like this, queen? Oh queen, you God. I'm like, I enjoy looking at a fat ass here and there. I just,
Right. And some of these brothers be in the DM, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, of course. And y'all see some of these brothers act like they don't like sex. It's so much hypocritical stuff. This is why, yeah, okay. I don't want to get hyped, but this is why I am the way I am. Like listen, I'm not trying to hear none of that. Stop it. I gotta see these comments because
Yeah,
it
yeah,
looks
yeah.
like,
Like Johnny Dan said, I love a plump booty too. Yeah, I mean, I'll be lying if I don't enjoy looking at a fat ass. I would just be
now would it be wrong for me to say I would be lying if I don't like a chocolate penis? I love how a chocolate penis looks
mm,
and how the pectorals, and I love it. Would I be wrong for that? What comments am I getting because I said that?
right.
You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
just being honest.
Okay,
Just
that's
being
all I'm
honest. Just be okay. Here we go. What are your thoughts on like traditional marriage? You know, someone in the chat room says marriage is the key to having wealth, building wealth. Do you believe in a traditional marriage, or versus going to the court and all that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so me personally, I will not be going to anyone's court. I
Mhm.
will definitely join a civil union. I'll have my own contract with my partner, because I do believe family is business, and I am a strong believer in whoever I decide to make my king or whatever. Oh yeah, we gonna have to build some stuff. Like my philosophy is unions should benefit the world. When you get with somebody, what are you creating for the world in the generations to come? So I definitely agree that marriage should also include what are you building, right? Which is why I do think there's certain counseling sessions or whatever, goal setting strategies and conversations before you get into this thing. So I'm not for the, romanticize, oh, it's all lovey-dovey pink flowers and we're just going to be pillow talking all day. Nah, we got work to do. So I believe that marriage needs to be productive, absolutely, or whatever union. Yeah.
Okay, so Jeff, I think I just answered your question, but he says, can a woman and a man be married without a marriage license?
On a spiritual level, yeah, I don't need no. Yeah, I mean, see, I get why you need contracts. I get that. I get why a government entity has to recognize your union for certain matters. I get that. But as far as I don't need, no, you don't need a marriage contract. I do think to join in a spiritual union, there may need to be a ceremony, some agreement, some dope intention settings, blessings from the community and ancestors is always great. But that piece of paper, is it necessary to be in a union? No. Is it necessary for business and what you're building and legacies you want to leave? Possibly.
Let's see what else we got here in the chat room. Many folks I know don't have a contract. Marriage is a mental and physical agreement. Brother Amra Cameron says she's so beautiful and intelligent.
Oh, well, thank you so much, brother, for the
Oh, here we
love.
go. Here we go. Do you believe in polygamy? Are you for that? Would you support that?
I believe in polyamory, yes.
Was okay.
I
What's the difference?
support if let me say something.
Go ahead.
I support what works. I support if, you know, because it's all about teamwork, make the dream work. I understand and see this is going to be another touchy subject. I believe in multiple partners. I do. It can help. It's not for everybody. Let me say this. It's not for everybody because it takes a mental and emotional maturity and to stay focused on a goal. And what are these relationships based on? A lot of people want to get into these relationships because they're sex crazed or they have this feeling of I just want a whole bunch so I can feel validated. But if it's more so, I need more because there's more I can do, there's more wealth I can build, I totally believe in that.
Okay. Now, your man having multiple partners, or you as a woman having multiple?
I believe in both.
Okay.
As long what I believe in, because again, now we're going to be transparent again.
Go
A
ahead.
lot of these couples who, like I said, are these are black couples, affluential couples, they understand this concept, which is why they both may have another partner as well. There are,
So is that common?
yes, but you know why it's kept underground? Because we're judgmental.
Uh-huh.
It is common because here's the thing. I don't care if it's a man cheating on his woman or a woman cheating on her man. From the beginning of time, right? For us to have this expectation that women have always and will be, just always will never want somebody else outside of their man, is a false belief system. This, I mean, from the beginning of time, I don't care if you want to call her a hoe, imbalanced, whatever the case may be. It could be, especially women in power. Women in power almost always have more than one partner. And what happens is, if they don't, they will still have the yearning for or the connection for it, but again, they won't act on it because of the shame and the guilt that comes along with it. It's more acceptable for a man but not for a woman. So for me, like in 2019, because we not where we was 2,500 years ago, in 2019, if a man and woman come to an agreement and respect whatever agreements or boundaries they have within their partnership to allow another partner, for whatever reason they need, hey, I don't judge that. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to help heal people and live their best life. Like, I'm not here for that. And I've worked in this couple been married for like 25 years. You know what I'm saying? And I think they were saying, okay, what is this, 2019? So maybe about 10 or 15 years ago, they started exploring the possibility of, or exploring, an open marriage, because here's what goes on. So you're expecting your man or your woman to fulfill all the needs that you want and that you have, right? So on one aspect, we have, yeah, we need to produce, we need to make money, we need to set up our generations for future success. And then you have the side of, I need quality time, I need intimacy, I need attention, I need all these emotional and mental things to stimulate. Well, sometimes when a partner is so in their, what I call warrior or hunter mode, you out there providing, protecting, you don't have time to be in this emotional space all the time, want to be cuddle and lovey-dovey. And this is why a lot of women cheat, because they're
Okay, so I guess I'll just call myself insecure. So
okay.
do women cheat often? Like, is that common?
Okay, see, okay. What do you mean by off? We don't cheat no more or no less than men do. Like this is why I say, us trying to pick these battles of who do what more, it's got to stop. Like, the difference between us is our physical organs, as well as the dominance in feminine and masculine energy. But as human beings, we have the same wants and needs, right? So I'm not here to say or tell on women if we cheat more or not. But what I'm here to say is our expectations, we've been living false expectations for a long time, and it's got to stop.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh, somebody said sisters hide cheating better.
Sisters what?
Hide cheating better.
Now, and why do sisters hide cheating better?
I don't know. You tell me.
Because when a man is found out he was cheating, it is more likely for him to be forgiven. And yeah, we may, he a dog, whatever. But eventually we work with you.
Mm-hmm.
When a woman cheats, oh, it's it. That's it. Like, your ego is hurt. Your insecurities come up, like, well, was I enough? Da, 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 da. Like, it's way worse when women cheat, which is why women have to hide it better. But see, what happens is, if our belief systems were more truth, it wouldn't be cheating. If, like, a married couple who have a open relationship, there's no such thing as cheating. If two people are together and they're realistic about, what, maybe after 10 or 15 years, I still love you, but I still need something else to contribute to my happiness. It doesn't mean that I love you less. It doesn't mean that you're not enough. It just means that, why would you think my happiness is solely dependent on me and your union? Right. And again, I'm not saying that I'm telling everybody to be open. I'm not saying that I'm telling everybody to be poly. What I'm saying is, I understand. That's all I'm saying. So again, we have to have more honest dialogue and conversations. There are plenty of couples who come to these retreats because they are at a point in their life like, yo, we did a lot. I'm grateful. Our union is sacred, and I still love, but being open doesn't necessarily mean always having sex with other people. Sometimes married couples have a rule: you can't have friends of the opposite sex, you can't have friends of the opposite sex, and it's because of our insecurities that come up.
Right.
You
So
know?
I just, me personally, I just think there's no, for in regards to a woman, there's no such thing as a male friend, because men are always trying to smash. Am I wrong?
That is a belief system. That is a belief system that you have. And here's the thing. Why are men always trying to smash? Why? How come men can't embrace his sister just as his sister? Like, yo, sis, I just want to help build, and I ain't even got to have sex with you. That why are we conditioned to always correlate our interactions with having to smash? Who trained us to be that way?
I don't know. I mean, I have a couple real close lady friends that are just like my sisters, like are my sisters. I do have a couple.
Mm-hmm. And do you want to smash? Be
No,
honest.
no, absolutely not. It's disgusting. It's like my sister. Like,
Oh,
no.
so again, my brother. So again, we have to work on our hypersexuality, right? Because again, women are to blame, but men, sometimes y'all don't look at y'all hypersexuality. Oh, and this is what I call it. A lot of men are dick centered. Let's talk about that.
True.
Think it's too much with your penis. And see, in this work, we help connect your heart to your penis. So the fact that you're able to have,
oh yeah, we gotta dive into that.
you invented connecting your heart to your
No,
penis.
I say I need you to dive into that.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
dive into that. No, definitely not.
Well, no, that was an example you just gave. The fact that you're able to see this woman who may be beautiful and attractive, but she is your sister. That's along the lines of heart connection, but also with heart connected to your penis also means when you are making love to a woman, or even when you want to sexually engage with a woman, it's for the right reasons. A lot of us want to get together to dump stress or to just have a good time.
Yeah,
But when
I am thirsty. You know, if you know what I mean. Like, I just be hella thirsty.
I mean, okay,
Is that
so
wrong? Is
you
that
may
wrong for me to be hella thirsty?
like to be super hypersexual.
Yes.
Well, it depends, because having a high sex drive and hypersexual are two different things. So I would say that, let me ask you this. When you have sex with a woman, right? Do you feel anything here?
My heart?
Do you feel an emotional connection? Because believe it or not,
No. I mean,
okay,
it depends. No,
okay.
majority, no.
Okay, yeah, okay. And see, this is what happens when you're disconnected from your heart and your penis. You don't care if she orgasms. This is what happens. Men,
No.
yeah. No, but feel me though. Feel me though. A lot of men who are dick centered, they don't care if the woman orgasms. They're not in tune with her body. They don't even know the different erogenous zones of her vagina, of her body. They don't care to know. You just want to get in,
Right.
get that nut. You know what I'm saying? And then
Best,
you out.
hey, the best 2 minutes of your life.
The best to now, sometimes exercising that carnal energy is necessary, but the reason why heart to penis connection is because y'all can heal us sexually, man. This is what I be trying to tell brothers. If you're gonna be out there having sex, learn how to heal these sisters with your penis. There's a lot of, and let me tell you something, a lot of men who are hyposexual in their penis actually have the ability to have a healing penis.
You said a healing penis.
But see, what society, a healing penis? Who done experience a healing penis? Lord have mercy, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Okay. So yes, like where can I start? It's like the kind of penis when you are engaging and you hit this altered states of consciousness, like you may cry, or like you may feel like a full body orgasm, like everything in you is tingling, and then the way you guys are breathing and the energy is circulating, you may feel the insides of her vagina contract, or when she feels something energetically, you feel it, and then y'all just exploding all over the place, but what happens is our sex has turned into, okay, let me get this nut. Oh, okay, let me get this nut, and then that's it.
Do you think women just want to get a nut too, and just
There's women who just want to get a nut. Absolutely. Like I'm just saying, we both have carnal desires, and some women are disconnected from their vagina too. Like their heart space is disconnected from their vagina as well. I used to be one of them. That's what I'm saying. Like I know this to be true. So, we can't sit up here and act like, and here's another thing. When we talk about these women who are hoes and they're, all this other stuff, again, a lot of these women have been disconnected from their heart space and their vagina because of they've been traumatized, they've been abused. So the only sense of feeling, the only sense of validation, the only sense of love they can feel is through sex because they heart is damaged. You know what I'm saying? So it's another reason for women to be hypersexual. It is what it is.
Oh God. Dual Purpose says you sound like Cynthia G. No, she doesn't.
I don't really care. I don't know who that is, but okay.
You don't sound like no Cynthia G.
Yeah, I don't. Who is Cynthia G, by the way?
Look her up. Yeah, you can look.
Okay.
You look her up.
Okay. I mean, I don't really care.
Yeah.
So,
Dave
ask him how his relationship is doing. How's your relationship? Is your penis connected to your heart, brother man? Let's, hey. Anyway, go ahead.
Dave E says, "Do any sisters in the chat need healing?"
This is why I don't come on these platforms because y'all take it as a joke. No, I'm serious. And this is the issue with our community right now because of that type of bullshit. Okay. This is why we can't go to no places.
I'm sorry for feeding into it. I'm sorry.
No, but you know what? You know why I don't blame you? Because it's a conditioning, and we've all been conditioned.
True.
We've all been conditioned. So that's why I don't even get mad. I just let you look at yourself. Mm-hmm. Okay, any other questions? Let me see what's going on in the chat because evidently this is possible.
Okay, there was a study done. Let me ask you this: Do you smoke weed?
I partake. Yep.
Okay. So,
sorry.
So there was a study saying that girls who smoke weed and girls with daddy issues have the best sex. What are your thoughts on
that? No comment.
No. And no, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I don't know. I don't know what kind of study that is.
I gotta say that girls with daddy issues have the best for JJ, the best Yoni. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
My thing is there's a lot of events in life that inspire us to be the best we can be, and that's all I can say. That's all I can say. I would say this. Maybe that is because she's had a lot of women who've had daddy issues. They're either shut down from men sexually or they have a lot of sex. So women who are known to have good vaginas probably because they had a lot of experience in having sex due to those daddy issues, because you're constantly having sex with these men trying to feel fulfilled from what your daddy didn't give you. So that's my only logical explanation that I could think of. Just had a lot of practice.
That makes sense. See what else we got here in the chat room.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking too because y'all are hilarious. Okay. The goal of sex has been taken away from it. That is impregnation.
What are your thoughts on that? The purpose of sex is to have kids.
Okay, so would that mean that women who are infertile shouldn't have sex? If the point of sex is to get pregnant, women who are infertile, had fibroids or their uterus removed, should they not have sex? And see, on a metaphysical level or emotional level, okay, if sex can create a child, and again, this is why sexual healing, because through the healing that you can get through sex, you can create whatever the F you want to. It's a business, an idea that you want to manifest, because what good sex does and good relationships do, it empowers you. It gives you it can contribute to your confidence, your self-esteem, your willpower, and all that contributes to getting shit done. So for me, let's just say, and let's be real, sex induces certain neurochemicals that makes us feel good. When we have an orgasm, there's certain neurochemicals that happens in our brain that gives us this sensation, and it's a feeling of euphoria. It's kind of hard to go through life trying to be successful and you're miserable. Have you ever seen like a miserable, successful person?
Yeah. Okay, so you have to define success in regards to just making money, or?
Exactly my point, sir. There are a lot of miserable people who have money, right? But they're not happy. So that tells me right there, okay, chasing money isn't what makes you happy overall. It could either be the journey or the chase of making money. But again, you have a lot of people who have money and they have sucky ass relationships. They're lonely as heck. They don't have sex. So instead of using that sexual energy to engage with somebody else, they got to in turn put that to whatever they're creating. So at the end of the day, sex or no sex, it all has to do with what are you creating, but are you doing it in a happy state? Like, and I choose to create happy. I want to create and build businesses and have great sex with my partner or partners, whatever life presents for me. But you know, that's life right there. I'm building, having great sex, you know, both inside the bedroom, outside the bedroom, because sexual energy is not just exchanged through intercourse. You know, man, like, ugh, Lord, like, ooh, I could just be across the room and feel him. Like, ugh, it's just amazing, an amazing connection. It's like, you know, it's one thing to try to teach people sacred sexuality and tantra, but you have to experience it. And this is what I say. And because we're so indoctrinated with these judgmental ass belief systems and criticisms and certain conditioning, we don't know what we miss out on, you know. And we've been trying for so hard for decades and decades to build better functional families, to build better neighborhoods and businesses, and it's happening, but it'll happen better and more quickly if we're entering unions in a healed, happy, and authentic state. And that does include awesome sex, because you have brothers who got, your wife is great, oh my gosh, she takes care of the kids, she cleans, she cooks, she contributes, but she's boring in bed. She's boring in bed. So no matter how much you love her, you're probably still going to go cheat on her because this other woman is giving you things or making you feel things on the inside, which I get it, because neurochemicals feel good, that you want and that you long for. So, you know, is your marriage successful because you're having businesses and, you know, children, but at the same time, the intimacy with you and your wife isn't okay? And this works vice versa. So we got to be realistic about these things.
All right, last question. David Mosby says a lot of married women and men are not happy sexually. When you've gotten to that point in a marriage, what's the solution?
Okay, so it is about learning new things. It is about opening your mind. Like, why aren't you happy? Is it because you're doing the same routine? Okay, he's gonna hit it from the back. Now I know to roll over. Okay, now I know to bend over. Like, you know, sometimes when we have sex, it's a routine. We know exactly what we're going to do. Sometimes men now, and this is no fault of y'all's, because we have been improperly educated sexually, right? We're not trained on other zones of the body aside from the genitalia. So some men do not know just rubbing my breast, my nipples in a circular motion, the back of my knees, certain sensations or points in my inner thigh, you know, working around my labia, really knowing the anatomy of my vagina, knowing that I have like more than 3 ways to orgasm clitorally, my G spot, the A spot, like all these spots in the vagina, I had to learn for myself. And I had mine for how was I, 32 years before I realized there was more than 2 ways I can orgasm. Are you kidding me? We're disconnected, you know. So a lot of times we are bored in the bed because we are not trained sexually. We're trained in our jobs. We're trained in school. Are we trained in relationships? How do we train ourselves in relationships? We just think we got it all figured out.
All right. Shout out to Grazio for the super chat. Well, sister, what we'll do, we'll go ahead and close out. How can everybody reach you?
Sure. So you can reach me on Facebook. I am Riziki Zafira, Rizikizafira. I'm also Riziki L, Rizikiel. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook. I also have a website, rizikizafira.com. And definitely stay tuned for, you know, upcoming retreats, a Black Tantra group event coming to a city near you, and also the Sacred Sexuality Rites of Passage program. And lastly, I am going to Ghana on the 16th.
When are you going?
I'm going to Accra. I'm going to Accra, Ghana, because some of the people there reached out and they actually sponsored my trip. I'm so grateful. But I'm going to go out there and teach sacred sexuality and some of the tantric work, as well as me learning, because I definitely want to incorporate more our, you know, spiritual systems and modalities to do. So I'm real excited about that.
All right, well, everyone, anything else you want to share in closing before we close out?
I would just like to say to everybody, peace and love. Thank you for listening. And let's work on not being so judgmental and critical for people who are out there trying to get help. And let's just be a little bit more welcoming when people are admitting they have issues. And, you know, let's just do better. Like we just ain't got that kind of time. So that's all I want to say. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you so much. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you go to search for Huru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Until next time, family, Dynasty Mirror, search for Huru. Peace.
Peace.